We'll call this Rules Committee meeting to order. This is our July meeting. Councilor Vasquez, would you do the honors?
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this beautiful day, and thank you for all that you bless us with here in the Cherokee Nation. Thank you for giving us divine wisdom to carry out the business of our people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Shelley.
Yes, sir. Joe Berg.
Honey.
Ryan Warner.
Honey.
Bill England.
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Carl Buzzard. Tom Crinkle. Here. Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Nikki Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield.
Here.
Dick Blake.
Honey.
Mike Shannon. Here. Mary Bakershaw. Ian Smith.
Here.
Dennis Taylor.
Here.
Victoria Vasquez. David Watkinson.
Honey.
We have
This time I'd entertain approval of the minutes.
Make a motion they be approved.
Have a motion. Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. We'll drop down to reports. Marshall Shannon Buell.
Good morning. I feel like I was just here. Other than the monthly report that we give out, the only thing that stands out this month is we've had 13 EDOs, which that is where we have a patient at Hastings Hospital that's suicidal that we have to take control of and transport them to a mental health facility for treatment. We usually average 2 to 3 a month, and we've had 13 this month. So that's worrisome. How's that? That's problematic. But we handled it, and we'll keep on track doing that. But that's the only thing really off scale of the normal monthly reporting. So if you have any questions about it.
Yes, Councilor Critton.
Yes, and I just, I've got an elder, Cherokee, elder, owns a house on restricted land.
Okay.
And she don't live in the house, but some of her relatives, what was presented to me, illegal activity, she didn't go into details, but
Okay.
she wants them out.
Well, offline, if you could just text me the
Right.
contact information, all that, I'll be more than happy to.
Just general speaking, though, can she get them out?
Yes, absolutely, and we can help facilitate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll be with you.
All right.
You good?
Thank you.
Councilor Shambo.
Just off the top of my head, how long does it take one of your marshals to do an EDO? From the time he gets it to the time he's finished it, how long does it take?
It averages between 5 hours and 12 hours, depending on how far we got to take them.
Right.
So.
Do you usually have to go to Wagner? Do you do
No,
Wagner?
we usually have to go to Norman,
Oh, is that
Edmond. We've sent them to Weatherford.
Okay. I just wondered.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
It's a long process.
Anybody else? The rescue that took place.
Yes.
You were monitoring that, and you guys have done some of that. That was quite a task, wasn't it?
It was amazing what they did. We have the equipment to pull something like that off. The training is what we have lacking. One of my divers, his name's Danny Tanner. Most of you probably know him. He's griped at me for years because he says he won't do something, and then we end up making him do it anyway. And it has to do with diving, or I won't go deep, and then we make him go deep, or I won't go in a vehicle, and then we make him go in a vehicle, or he won't do mixed gas, make him do mixed gas. So he came in yesterday and just kind of shook his head and went, "You're probably gonna make me get in a cave, aren't you?" I said, "Why would you think that?" He goes, "Because we got a lot of caves around here, and if it ever happened, we would have to go anyway, so we might as well get the training." Now, I say that jokingly, but there's very few teams out there that have the equipment and training capabilities that our team has. We're very proud of it. We work hard to keep that training up. And yes, if we had something like that here in the States, we'd be one of the teams that would get the phone call. Now, whether we would go or not, there's a lot of variables to that. Is it possible to rescue? In that case, it absolutely was. The diver that lost his life in the rescue was not a certified cave diver from all of our information that we received. a very qualified Taiwanese Navy SEAL, which is a good diver, but you have to specialize in, there's different specialties that if you don't know the mechanics of it, whether you're a good diver or not, you can be injured or killed. So there's a lot of variables that go in, are we going to make a dive? One of the variables is, if you've seen down on Lake Texoma, the semi that went off the bridge. OHP went down and tried to recover the body and couldn't recover it. The semi is loaded with paint thinner, so that paint thinner is leaking out into around the truck. I've had a couple phone calls for us to go down and get him out, and we very well could. But they're going to have to get the truck out of the water. So I made the recommendation to them to get a heavy lift crew from like Morgan City, Louisiana, to come in with the actual heavy lift dive crew to just bring the entire semi up, and the driver will be in the semi, and you can recover him that way. You know, so that's one of those dives that we could have done, but it's, do I want to put a diver at risk for something that they're going to have to go down and get anyway? And my answer to that was no. So we have this issue at every dive call that we look at is, what's the cost benefit to one of my divers getting injured or killed as compared to, is there a better way to do it? And many times there are better ways to do it. So we're always looking at those ways.
Is there opportunities for the other tribes? You know, we're getting ready to have the 5 tribes meeting. Is this something that they're capable of doing? Are they trained to do this as well? I know we're probably as capable as anybody.
I've actually personally certified 7 of the Creek Light Horse dive team members. I do training for several public safety dive training centers, and I've certified a handful of them.
Okay.
They're good divers. I have to say that because I train them, so they're good divers, you know. But they don't have the capabilities that we have. There's a lot of Tulsa PD has a good dive team. They don't have the capabilities that we have, mainly because they don't have the experience or the training. So other teams are looking at this. This is anytime you put a specialty team together, it gets expensive. It's time consuming, it's stressful on the employee, you know, because not only are you having to do your normal duties, but now you have this added duty assigned to it. So I always caution other tribes on getting into either special operations, which is what you would recognize as SWAT, or dive. I spend a lot of my time going to the different tribes saying you really don't want these things unless you're committed enough to it, because they're very like SWAT is very litigious. You know, most of the lawsuits and agencies come from canine, and number 2 is special operations. So you have to do it right, and even when you do stuff right, you can get injured, you can get killed, you can get sued. And so I'm always a cautionary note to other tribal agencies saying, are you sure that this is what you want to do? Because we can come and help out, and we do have a mutual agreement with the Creeks as far as one of the Creek Light Horse's son drowned in an accident. Him and a buddy ran off during the floods in a car and drowned. And we volunteered our team, if they find the car, to go and get his son out. So we have that mutual, you know, I would hate for one of my divers to have to get a relative out. And I would hate for that Creek Light Horse dive team to get one of their relatives out from a drowning. It's not a pleasant experience. It's not pleasant visually or anything else. So we already have that agreement that if one of our family members drown, the Creek's going to come over and do the recovery for us, and vice versa for them. So.
Okay. All right. Good report, Shannon. Appreciate you. Office of Attorney General Chrissy Nemo. Haven't seen her in a while.
Long time. Good morning. The only thing I wanted to share, I'm sure everyone saw last night that Donald Trump nominated a new Supreme Court justice, Brett Kavanaugh from the D.C. Court of Appeals. And they have a little bit of history with Cherokee Nation. Judge Kavanaugh wrote the appeals court decision in the Freedman case. So if you remember, when the case was at the district court level, Cherokee Nation said we are immune from suit by sovereign immunity, and the suit can't go forward against us. The district court agreed, and the Freedman descendants appealed that decision, and Judge Kavanaugh was the judge who wrote the decision that said the district court is correct in that the sovereign immunity of the Cherokee Nation keeps them from being sued. However, the officials of the tribe can be sued in their official capacity, therefore the suit can go forward. And so it went back down to the district court, and then we got the decision. So Judge Kavanaugh was the one that authored that decision. So on one hand, he upheld the sovereignty of the tribe as a whole, but said under a legal precedent of Ex parte Young that the suit could go forward against the officials of the tribe. He has another Indian law decision that was with the Navajo Nation that allowed them to recover some funds under their self-governance compact with the nation, and they were able to get more money based on the decision that Kavanaugh wrote. So fairly decent. He at least knows Indian law. Like I said, in our decision, it was a split. It was good on one hand for sure. And Justice Kennedy, who he will likely be replacing when he is confirmed, was not friendly to Indian law or to tribal interests in Indian law cases. So a little bit of maybe a silver lining with this nominee. And there's lots of, if you're concerned or interested in his other positions on other issues, there's 500 articles came out as soon as his name was announced, so there's lots of it out there. But those are the only two kind of significant Indian law cases that he at least authored the opinion in those. So other than that, any questions?
Any questions for our AG's office?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Gwen Terrapin.
Good morning. I'll make this short and sweet. I have nothing new to report at this time since last month.
Any questions? Good report. Okay, Election Commission, Marcus Fears.
Good morning. I did want to report some actual numbers. The report that I sent you did not have all of June's information on there. So at the closing of June, we had 198 applications, registrations for June, and we closed out the month with 69,828 registered voters as of July the 2nd when I ran that. Other than that, we got out a new voter registration application. It highlights some of the information that oftentimes gets forgotten whenever you're, trying to rush through and fill that out. So we got that out. It's uploaded on the website, and we're working on trying to get a new informational brochure out to you guys to pass out. That's it. You guys have any questions?
Any questions for Marcus? Councilor Lay.
Thank you. What was that number again, registered voters? I'm sorry.
Registered numbers, total is 69,828. We should be over 70,000 here pretty quick. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. The meeting that you all are having, is it this evening?
This evening?
And so it's amendments to your bylaws and rules.
That's correct.
Do you have those with you that we could look at?
I don't have those with me. They're in the office.
They're in the what?
They're at the office. I don't have those amendments with me right now.
Can you send them over to us?
I can. Yeah. Now we're gonna meet about those. It's just every year or so we look into the bylaws and the rules and the policies to make sure to see if there's anything that can be better for the voters and make things easier and things like that. So that's what we've done. We have a committee that looked at those pieces, and there's a couple things in each of those that we wanted to present in the meeting tonight.
Have you ever sent those to us previously?
I don't believe so.
I'd like to request that you start doing that, because whenever you talk about elections in the Cherokee Nation and changes to anything, you know, antennas go up. So we'd
Correct.
like to know what you're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Councilor Walker-Stick.
Thanks, Speaker. What are those amendments or changes that you're proposing, just top of your head?
Let's see. Like I say, I don't have them in front of me. There's not a whole lot of things that we're trying to change. There's just some.
I mean, you're talking about the processes to make things easier for voters. What are some suggestions that you guys are making to make things easier?
In the bylaws, there's nothing really that is, because most of that it pertains to how the commissioners operate the election commission. The rules and regulations, there's just some minor changes, some capitalization things here and there, but there are things in policies that we'll hit on later, such as like whenever Cherokee Nation policies and procedures add things like harassment and bullying. Whenever they updated that, we want to update our policies as well. So it's things like that that we want to get in line with how the Cherokee Nation handbook is. And so we'll add those, we'll try to adopt those into our policies as well.
When you say harassment, bullying, you talking about voters or employees?
No, employees.
Employees.
Yeah, that's on the employee side.
What are the suggestions to make things easier for the voters that you guys have came up with?
Now those things for voters in particular would be anything that it was suggested in the act. But for rules and regulations, I don't believe there's anything regarding the voter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Speaker.
Anybody else? Yeah, Councilor Buzzard.
Yeah, Marcus, out of the voter registration that you said 69,828.
Yes,
Do you have that broken down for at large and then jurisdictional voter?
I do.
Can you give us those numbers?
Yes. At large consists of 29,661 of the 69,828.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, Councilor Stemmer.
So the changes you've done, nothing will change the voting process itself. Everything in the voting process stays the same, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And nothing changed in the absentees either, correct?
Nothing has changed in the absentee.
Okay. Thank you.
So the dates are the same for?
Well, there is a projected date change in the act that is up for review. We would like to move the absentee cutoff to be the same as our registration cutoff. Currently our registration deadline is the last business day in March, and we would like the final day for absentees to be in by that also. We're looking at a absentee ballot request that has the ability for the voter to do a change of address on that also, because if something happens and that address is not what we have, then we would like to be able to accept that as a change of address. And if we get that after that voter registration cutoff, then we can't use that ballot.
All right.
Have you ever considered changing the method in which the way the at-large population votes to make it easier?
I don't.
Is it ever under discussion?
I don't think. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we would entertain, suggestions.
That's probably one of the largest issues is how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And it's not extremely difficult, but it isn't easy. And so that's one of the big questions that I get about voting. And I would hope that you would look in the future, with technology. And I'm aware that the absentee ballot is usually a controversial issue in our elections. But anyway, thank you.
Counselor Crittenden.
Sir, when's the election?
June the 1st, 2019. June.
Okay. I've heard May and,
No, it's June the 1st, 2019 is the general election.
thank you.
Yes, Counselor Shaw.
Marcus, I'm not sure you're the correct person or department to ask, but could you tell me if the Constitutional Convention of 2000 was ever ratified?
Yeah, I don't know. The Election Commission doesn't have any involvement in the Constitution, so I'm not sure.
Because we would need it put on next year's election ballot to vote whether or not we have another one. And I don't know what department we need to ask.
From my understanding,
But the Election Commission, they don't,
now, from my understanding, if there was something determined, then we would be notified, and then we could put it on a ballot.
Okay, I just, well then, can I make a motion here that we put should we have a constitutional convention? Can I make that motion today?
No, that's not, that's not how it works, but we will get with the appropriate legal people, and we'll set that up, notify all the council members on what their role is. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Yes, Tax Commission, Sharon Swepson.
Morning.
Morning.
I apologize, I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting. My husband was having a procedure done at the hospital, so I apologize for that. I hope you got my report. I know it was late getting there because we don't get our numbers till the end of the month, so I assume that you got it. And I also understand you had some questions. Councilman, yesterday the curb was cut up there. They are framing and pouring the concrete today. We are working in conjunction with the housing authority, so hopefully by the end of the week we'll have that situation fixed.
Matter of fact, Sharon, I went by and looked at it before I came down here, and I wasn't going to ask about it, but I saw it was working.
Yeah. We are also putting up some additional signage that marks that. Those on that lower level on that one side will all be labeled as handicapped.
That's a good deal.
So,
thank you, Sharon. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, that's the news we were waiting on.
Oh, it just takes a little time sometimes to get it all worked out.
I know you're busy, and wish your husband well.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Austin.
The state just passed a bunch of stuff relating to taxes on tobacco and things like that.
Yes.
How do we deal with that?
Basically, it's not going to change our process that much. We just had to change our system to accept the new cost and how they're going to do that. For little cigars, they are no longer counted as a stick. They're going to be counted like cigarettes. So we already had made arrangements and had our system updated to be able to accommodate that so that we'd be ready to go on July 1. So we should be okay and no issues with that. When the new tax rate does go into effect, then of course that changes the amounts of the rebates and what we get back from the state and all that, but it doesn't change the percentages or anything. It's just in the total amount. The tax on cigarettes went from $10.30 a carton to $20.30 a carton.
So does it look like it's already in effect, right?
It went into effect July 1.
Okay, so there's not enough time to really judge how it's affecting sales.
No, not yet. We really won't see those reports for 60 days. By the time we get all the wholesalers' reports and everything back in the way they report, it takes about 60 days before we'll see any of those numbers. So.
Thank you.
Councilor Buzzard.
Sharon, I just look at your reports on the veterans sales tax exemption.
Yeah.
How are you identifying those? Are you working with the veterans?
All they have to do is they turn in their DD-219 or to us, and then we issue them a card from that.
Okay, so you don't really pursue, it's up to them to...
No, we've given the information to our Veterans Center over here and stuff, so they have the forms and they can make sure that all of those that come in there. So we do try to work with them that way.
I guess I need to find out from her if she knows how many Cherokee veterans there are. I'm not sure she knows that.
I'm not sure.
I'll find out. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Counselor Shambo?
Are we shorthanded at the J office and the tag office?
We are now.
Okay.
Sorry.
I've received several phone calls the last couple of weeks. And they've had some 2.5-hour waits, and I know it gets busy. And
We had an issue with an employee up there, so we are back down to one employee, and we do send one from Tahlequah when I can. The issue right now is it's summertime, people are taking vacations, and I just got everybody back from FMLA last Thursday. So, but yes, we are short at the J office one, and I'm short one person at the Collinsville office.
are you trying to get that?
We actually have the panel, and we'll be interviewing this week for the position at Collinsville, and then we have to do some paperwork on the one at J to finish up a situation, and then we will have that taken care of at J hopefully real soon.
Okay, thank you.
The Catoosa office has we're full staff. We have 4 there now. 2 of them are new though. So they're a little slower, takes time. It actually takes about 3 to 4 months for people to actually get their feet on the ground and know how to get things done. I mean, it's not like you can hire them and tomorrow they can process. I mean, it takes a little time for them to learn all the specifics and everything, so. But we're trying.
Thank you.
Counselor Ingram?
She actually answered my question right there on the Catoosa one.
Yes.
And the Collinsville one, you got that one filled.
The Collinsville one, they're interviewing this week for that position, so hopefully that'll be filled. All the ones at Catoosa are filled, it's just that 2 of those are new, so they're still training.
And that's what they're saying, they're backing them up, you know.
They are, but those girls, like right now, I mean, they start out just doing renewals, and then they go on with title work, so forth, so on. It just takes a little time, so, yeah.
Thank you, Sharon.
Counselor Critton?
Yes. Sharon, how many tag offices do we have?
6.
That's J.
We have,
so-
Salisaw, J, Adair, Catoosa, Collinsville, and Tahlequah.
Adair, the town?
Yes, yes.
That, has Stillwell ever been considered for a tag office?
We actually did, and that's when we moved the one that we looked at the Stillwell, Salisaw area all around in there. And what we done when we placed those offices, we tried to place them and cover the 14 counties with a 30-mile driving radius, where that it wouldn't be a long distance for anybody, and that's why it got placed at the Salisaw area.
Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Lay?
Yes.
I'm not in that 30-mile radius. I'd like to voice my opinion on that one more time.
Okay.
Every month.
Anybody else? Yeah, when you really get caught up, try to put one in Nycut. They have to drive about 20 miles.
Okay.
Dirt roads, and it's kind of tough on those Cherokees down there.
I would love to add about 2 more at that. The Catoosa office has just grown beyond what we could imagine, and that's a very small office. I mean, we have a very small space there.
Yeah.
And I have 4 people there, and I am right now trying to figure out if there's any way I can put a 5th person in there and them still have the capability of working and getting to the windows and things like that, because that is just an extremely busy office. It's just that it's a small office, so they still got to have workspace, so.
The staff of your tag office has our Cherokee people spoiled. My sister wanted to get a tag. She just moved here from Arkansas. I said, go get a non-Cherokee tag and see how long it takes you to get it, and look at the cost, and you'll patiently wait 2 or 3 hours for a Cherokee tag. She didn't want to hear that. She just walked off. Didn't speak to me for 2 or 3 days.
Oh, no.
But she came back with the Cherokee tag. Anybody else? Good report.
Thank you.
Karen Ketcher is on travel. I think we'll just have Karen start reporting quarterly. She's been absent a lot, Terry, so maybe just quarterly report from her. Okay. Gaming Commission. You can count on Jamie.
Shionda God. A lot has happened in the 10 days that I've seen you. Not necessarily in gaming, but a lot has happened.
Rescue, what else?
Just one thing to report since our last face-to-face meeting. The commission did meet to take up the issues of craps and roulette that are going to be made possible here within the next 30 days. We did pass the regulations, our internal controls, CNE's operating policies, and they are in the process now of obtaining all the equipment, the chips, doing the training, all in anticipation of August 2nd when the new law will go into effect. We're still waiting to get the publication from the Department of the Interior in the Federal Register acknowledging and approving that supplement to the compact. Once all of those stars align, then we will be ready to go with the new versions of craps and roulette. Other than that, that's really all that I've had developed since our last visit.
Okay. All right. Yes, Councilor England?
Jamie, this may not be for you, but is it correct that the dealers, card dealers, will be share tipping with the roulette people, their tips?
The card dealers, some of them I think will be on the rotation. Now, what they do have a different approach for the regular poker dealers than they do with a table game. With the table games people, they're operating off a pool of tips. So everybody at that station will pool their tips, whereas an individual dealer working on a poker game will be able to take that directly and then turn it in. So they do have a different way of dealing with tips by position and by type of game that they play. This is all covered within a tip agreement that the casinos have with the IRS that spells out how each individual type of employee that does receive tips, how they will be treated and how they will be reported to the IRS. But if they are on that rotation, if I'm dealing poker at a table right now, if I'm also a roulette dealer or a craps dealer, then the tips that I get while I'm on those games will be treated differently than if I were just dealing a regular poker game. So not all of my tips will be going into this big pool that everybody gets to share. I will be able to take the ones that I get from this one table versus sharing them with others that work a larger table. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, but I think the people that I've talked to about it, they're afraid that their tip pool's gonna go in and they're gonna be depleted. You know.
Yeah, I don't.
I think we got some card dealers that may be upset.
Yeah.
Somebody may need to talk to them.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
I know a couple is thinking about leaving because of it.
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to be the case, but maybe that can be just clarified through a little bit of pre-shift meetings and some additional training possibly, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah. Good. I hope not. Because there's some long-term employees.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and those are very good positions for the tips. I mean, that's
they make a lot of money.
That's
they
definitely.
Make more than Tracy.
Councilor Buzzer.
And this may be a Sean Slayton question, but I understand he's not going to be here today. But do you know what the dice games projected revenue, is this going to be an increase, or is this a convenience for people to break even, or what do we know about it?
As far as the projected revenues, I do not know those numbers. I think we, in the regulatory piece of things, do expect to see an uptick, if you will, an increase in play. That's something that we've heard even from the time that we introduced the card-based version about 10 years ago of both craps and roulette. Is it's nice, but it's not the real thing. If you had the real thing, I'd play it. So we've heard that for a very long time. So that's why I'm saying I think we can expect an increase in play. How large that is, that would be a CNE question.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, sir.
Good report.
All right, thank you very much.
Human Resources, Dr. Nathan Moore.
Good afternoon, or morning, sorry. I don't have anything new to report. Since last meeting, I did do a partial month of statistics, but I'm going to follow up with that at the next meeting and go ahead and give the entire stats for June. Also, I'm working on the time to fill reports, and think I'll have them for the August meeting. And I normally, it's been over a year since I've done this, so I normally do like a 10 or 15 minute going through what the chart means, and ahead of time, I'll normally put instructions on it to say what each column does, and then just do some question and answer during the time after you've had an opportunity to look at the report. Okay, are there any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Martin? Yes,
I
Councilor
just
Stein.
have one. I saw where you all did an inspection, or had an inspection performed on the storm shelter at Sequoia. Where's that located?
On the risk management report?
Well, it's an inspection. It said, yeah, life safety code and OSHA regulation. I was just wondering, I don't know where that is. Does anyone?
I'll find out.
Okay. Get
I
back
was
with
just
us.
thankful we had one. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Lay?
I think Councilor Lay's questions, actually, I forgot for the election commission, chief, I wondered. I noticed there's something about water damage at the new building. What was that? Was that extensive, or hopefully it was not?
Yeah, whenever it rains heavily and wind blows, it blows in through the front doors, the front double doors that we have. And so that's what the water damage is.
Okay.
We're trying to get an awning to come out, to fix that.
Good. Councilor Critton?
Nathan, I've requested from Health the dental assistants pay scale and their career ladder. I've yet to receive that. Will you try to get that for me?
Okay. I'll talk with them and see the best method of getting that to you. I'm not sure if that's a FOIA GRA or a report, but I'll find out.
I've got better things to read, but this is some employees wanting to see. So appreciate
Everybody
you.
good? Nathan, just with school just around the corner, have we figured out a way to expedite when we need a substitute teacher for Sequoia, not have to go through the red tape? Because they can't go through the regular, normal, whatever that is, tape of hiring people part-time. Have we got a handle on that yet?
I know we've been working on having them preset and ready to go as needed. I still think we do run into a problem where we have an emergency where we don't have enough.
Okay.
And so with the background check they have to go through to be able to be entrusted with the children,
Sure.
it's going to take a little bit of time. But it's one of those things we continually work on to try to balance the need to have the person in the room versus having the correct background.
Okay.
Because if we have to have two of them in the same room, it doesn't help.
Okay. And maybe if they have, current experience with us, that probably helps at times.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
And that way, all we'd have to do is, depending on how their last background would be, I'm assuming we would just update it to that point.
Okay. All right. Well, good report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Old business? None pending. New business? None pending. Any announcements? I'll yield. Make a motion to adjourn. Got a second?